Income inequality has become a defining issue of our time, characterized by a significant and growing gap between the wealthiest individuals and the rest of the population. According to a 2021 report by Oxfam, the combined wealth of the world's billionaires increased by $3.9 trillion during the COVID-19 pandemic, while millions fell into poverty. This disparity is not only a matter of economics, but also a critical social issue with far-reaching implications for societal structure and cohesion. Join me in exploring the sociological dimensions of income inequality, analyzing its causes, consequences, and potential solutions through various sociological theories and concepts.
Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. For my social issue, I chose to talk about income inequality. Income inequality can be examined through several sociological lenses, each offering unique insights into its mechanisms and effects. From a structural functionalist perspective, income inequality can be viewed as a necessary component of societal organization. This theory suggests that a certain level of inequality is essential to motivate individuals to fill different roles and perform various functions that keep society running smoothly. High salaries and rewards for certain positions are seen as incentives for individuals to invest in education and training, thereby ensuring that key roles in society are filled with competent and qualified individuals. For example, doctors, engineers, and other highly skilled professionals receive higher compensation due to the extensive education and expertise required for their positions. This ensures that critical services are provided, contributing to social stability. However, this perspective often overlooks the negative consequences of extreme inequality, such as reduced social mobility and increased social tension. Although the structural function of income inequality highlights the roles and incentives that it provides, it often fails to address the disproportionate burden placed on the lower income groups. There is a lack of access to resources such as education and healthcare that can hinder the ability of individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds to climb up the financial and social ladder. This causes the social stratification to become larger than ever. Not to mention, the lack of upward mobility can result in a demoralized workforce, which in turn negatively affects productivity and produce animosity. One of the most well-known socialist, Karl Marx, explains his view on why income inequality exists. He explains in his book, Capital, A Critique of Political Economy, the process of capitalist production, accumulation of wealth at one pole is at the same time accumulation of misery, agony of toil, slavery, ignorance, brutality, mental degradation at the opposite pole. It emphasizes the power struggles between different social classes, arguing that income inequality is a result of the exploitation of the working class by the wealthy elite. It becomes a perpetuating cycle of inequality and social injustice. This theory is exemplified in the modern context by the growing concentration of wealth in the hands of a few, while many workers struggle to make ends meet despite working full-time jobs. Individuals of lower income are hindered from their ability to improve their socioeconomic status. Policies favoring the wealthy, such as tax cuts for the rich and deregulation, further exacerbate this inequality. In recent years, we've had many protests and movements against taxing the 1% since 2010, and still haven't gotten any traction in Congress. The ultra-wealth elite have many tricks up their sleeves by keeping their money in assets. When COVID-19 hit the nation, PPP loans were given out to any private business that applied. These loans amounted to about $1 trillion and were not accounted for in any way. Essentially, the government loaned out all this money and have no plan to take it back from these private businesses, as they have forgiven these loans. There was no oversight on how the funds were used, and many news cases came out that these business owners used them for personal gain. On the opposite spectrum, where we have student loans amounting to $1 trillion, the government kept a tight rein on the borrowers and vehemently opposed forgiveness. President Biden was able to enact some loan forgiveness for government workers that have been paying their loans off for more than 10 years. As these students are not part of the wealth elite, they do not receive the same treatment. They are burdened with loans for gaining an education that will ultimately benefit the nation. The media bias shines a light on student loans, but for PPP loans and their misuse. and handling have been silent. The monopolization of political power by wealthy elites often results in policies that reinforce their economic dominance. For example, lobbying efforts by large corporations can influence legislation in ways that protect their interests, often at the expense of the broader public. This creates a feedback loop where economic power translates into political power, which in turn is used to maintain economic advantages. The resulting social tension can manifest in various forms, including protests, strikes, and other forms of civil unrest. People's perceptions of income inequality are often shaped by their social environment and media portrayals. For instance, the American dream narrative suggests that hard work and determination alone can lead to success, downplaying the structural barriers that prevent upward mobility for many. This narrative can stigmatize those in poverty, implying that their financial struggles are due to personal failings rather than systemic issues. Such perceptions affect how individuals interact with one another, often leading to discrimination and social division. Media representations of wealth and poverty play a crucial role in shaping public perception. Reality TV shows that glamorize the lifestyles of the rich and famous can create unrealistic aspirations, while news coverage of poverty may focus on individual failings rather than systemic causes. These portrayals can influence public opinion and policy decisions, often leading to support for punitive measures against the poor rather than structural reforms. The stigmatization of poverty can result in social isolation and reduced access to social networks that are critical for economic advancement. Income inequality has broad and profound impacts on individuals, communities, and society as a whole. These impacts manifest in various aspects of life, including health, education, social mobility, and overall societal well-being. Income inequality contributes to significant disparities in health outcomes. Lower-income individuals often lack access to quality health care, nutritious food, and safe living conditions, leading to higher rates of chronic diseases and lower life expectancy. The stress associated with financial instability further exacerbates health issues, creating a cycle of poor health and poverty. Research indicates that income inequality is associated with various health problems, including obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and mental health disorders. The unequal distribution of health resources means that those who need medical care the most often receive the least. Public health systems in highly unequal societies tend to be underfunded, leading to inadequate care for the poor. The psychological stress of living in poverty, compounded by societal stigma, can also lead to increased rates of depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues. Education is another area heavily impacted by income inequality. Children from low-income families often attend underfunded schools with fewer resources, limiting their educational opportunities and future prospects. This educational disparity perpetuates the cycle of poverty, as individuals with lower educational attainment are less likely to secure well-paying jobs. The gap in educational opportunities can start early, with poorer children having less access to early childhood education, extracurricular activities, and advanced placement courses. As they progress through the education system, these disadvantages accumulate, making it harder for them to compete with peers from wealthier backgrounds. The lack of access to higher education further entrenches income inequality, as college degrees are increasingly necessary for well-paying jobs in the modern economy. Income inequality significantly hampers social mobility. When wealth and opportunities are concentrated among a small elite, it becomes increasingly difficult for individuals from lower socioeconomic backgrounds to improve their circumstances. This lack of mobility undermines the principle of meritocracy and leads to frustration and disillusionment among the working class. The barriers to social mobility are multifaceted, including limited access to education, discrimination in the labor market, and lack of social capital. Without the necessary resources and support, individuals from lower-income families often find it challenging to break out of the cycle of poverty. The erosion of social mobility can lead to a loss of hope and a belief that the system is rigged against them, which can have detrimental effects on societal cohesion and stability. At a societal level, high levels of income inequality can erode social cohesion and trust. Communities with stark economic divides often experience higher crime rates and social unrest. The sense of injustice and resentment fostered by inequality can lead to political polarization and instability, threatening the social fabric. Income inequality can also weaken the social contract, as people lose faith in institutions that seem to favor the rich. This erosion of trust can lead to lower civic participation, as individuals feel that their voices do not matter. The resulting disengagement from the political process can make it harder to implement policies that address inequality, creating a vicious cycle. Additionally, the concentration of wealth in a small segment of the population can lead to increased influence over media and politics, further entrenching inequality and reducing the effectiveness of democratic processes. In conclusion, income inequality is a multifaceted issue with deep sociological implications. It affects not only the economic landscape, but also the social structures and interactions that define society. Addressing income inequality requires a comprehensive approach that includes policy changes, social interventions, and economic reforms. Potential solutions to mitigate income inequality include implementing progressive taxation, increasing access to quality education and healthcare, and enacting policies that promote fair wages and labor rights. By addressing these structural issues, societies can work towards greater equality and social justice. Ultimately, reducing income inequality is not just a matter of economic fairness, but also a crucial step towards building a more stable, cohesive, and just society. It is only by tackling the root causes of inequality and implementing holistic solutions that we can hope to create a more equitable world for future generations.